Thank you for supporting our channel. Thank you for supporting Wizan. Please like, subscribe, comment, and hit the notification bell for any future videos.
I remember when I was boxing for England, and we was given Dunlop green striped trainers, and I thought we won the lottery.
So we're going to be here with Gary Hale. He's an Olympic boxing coach, training the guys now at the moment. Been doing that for 11 years. And Richard Burwood, who's also ex-amateur boxer. Richard, you never went professional.
No, ex-amateur, exactly.
So you was
ex-student as well.
Ex-student. Well, that's another thing. You're both cab drivers. You're both cab drivers. You're not butter boys. So I'll start with you, Richard. Richard, how long you been a cab driver now?
I think about 16 years, I think.
So prior to this, Richard, I know that you was you an hairdresser before you did the knowledge?
Yeah, I left school and became an apprentice hairdresser. I was boxing. I started boxing when I was about 11.
Well, who was you boxing for when you was 11? Which club?
West Ham.
West Ham Boxing Club?
Yeah, at the Black Line, Plaster. I boxed there, won the junior schoolboys of the first year, Class A. I only had 10 fights, and I was undefeated and become schoolboy champion, which was a bit of a miracle. Well, people have been boxing. I remember seeing Charlie Magri. They told me he lost his first 30 fights when he started boxing.
Did he? First 30 amateur fights?
Well, he lost. He did lose a lot.
I've got one of Charlie Magri's relatives on the knowledge at the moment.
Oh.
His name's Charlie Magri.
Have you?
No
press.
No
pressure. Not the DJ.
I don't know. I just know he's doing the knowledge at the moment, and I just know he's going to be related to Charlie Magri. I mean, if you named your kid Charlie Magri at some stage.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Otherwise, Charlie Magri's doing the knowledge, which I doubt because he's a little bit old at the moment.
He's a DJ.
Charlie Magri or the other Charlie?
No, his son. I'm sure he's a DJ. I've seen him on Facebook. Charlie's brother, nephew, cousin, the cab drivers.
Yeah, there's lots and lots in this industry that I know. Lots of ex-professional footballers, lots of ex-professional. No, to be honest, I was just going to say something that I didn't know where I was talking. I know lots of boxers, but lots of professional boxers driving Gary cabs.
There's a boxer now at the moment. His name's Dean. He's had about 10 fights. So he's a cab driver. But there's lots of ex-cab drivers who are ex-fighters who are cab drivers now.
And you yourself, have you ever boxed?
Yeah, so I was a boxer. I boxed in Liverpool. I'm a Scouser, as you can tell.
No one knew. We didn't know, did we? No one knew.
So I boxed in Liverpool, and then when I moved down here, I boxed for St Pancras in Kentish Town.
Right.
And then when I retired, I sort of had no inclination to be a coach. It sort of happened by accident, really. The few years passed, you have a family and you have kids. And then a fellow I used to work with, his son was getting bullied at school. And he said to me, you used to do a bit of boxing, didn't you? So I said, yeah. He said, you wouldn't teach him, would you? He said, just how to defend himself. And that's sort of how it sort of started for me. So I said, yeah, no problem. I said, bring him to me. And then there was a club in Camberwell that I took him to. And then it started from that, really. I just showed them how to sort of defend themselves. And then when I was there, the coaches there said, do you fancy helping out with the kids?
Yeah.
And that's how it started, really. And then
that club in Camberwell, there was a boxing association in Cromer Grove.
Yeah, that's it. That was above. That was it. So the gym was downstairs, and the London ABA was up.
Are they still there?
No, it's moved now. It's moved.
It was asked when you was on the knowledge.
Yeah, it was a point. Yeah,
because I know none of the new boys know it. None of them know it.
Where was that?
Cromer Grove off Camberwell New Road. Just little. I think there was a little triangle of a street.
That's it. Yeah. So it's Redcar Street and that's then Comber Grove. So Hollington Boys Club.
Yeah, that I could say Hollington. Yeah, I think when I pointed it was Hollington. It's funny because when I started doing the knowledge, born in East London, I should know it. Boxford of Repton. I was surprised when I went round. I saw St Monica's.
Well, you knew the clubs, but you didn't know where they were.
I didn't know where they were. Exactly. Red Lion, Cranham Manor. Oh, in Hackney, Dalston. Yeah. Literally, Repton is one of 4 good clubs. There was good fighters out of them all.
Yeah.
Obviously, Repton being the most famous.
How did Repton become the most famous?
Just had more success.
Is that, could you put that down to someone in the club? Because the club's just walls. So
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
it comes down to the trainers.
Well, the trainers, Tony Burns, obviously the coach that was there was attracted lots of fighters, but a lot of fighters come from other clubs. I did, and you know, it did bring up a lot of resentment from other clubs. Because,
Poaching.
well, they thought so. They thought they had a sort of a B line or A line to the ABA championships or big boxing for England.
Yeah.
But I often say Georgie Bowers, who was the junior trainer, he ended up at Repton as well. And junior trainers, they pick him up from nothing, like a bear, you know, from don't know how to tie their laces up.
Yeah, yeah.
And developed, and that's where I was lucky enough to be under his tutelage. Is that the word? Georgie Bowers, and you know, guided me through. And my dad, obviously, my dad used to box. He put the interest into me joining a club. But like I say, Georgie Bowers, he developed the fighters. And when you become 17, you turn senior. Around that age, you're given over to the senior coach.
Yeah.
Carries on, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like a progression, you see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, these clubs are like legendary clubs, Repton, West Ham, the Lane, Fitzroy Lodge.
Yeah.
They're sort of famous throughout the country. And, you know, they do a fantastic job. You know, as I say, taking the kids off the streets and giving them sort of direction, I think, you know, similar thing. That's what really, you sort of get bitten by a bug. I did, and then it becomes all consuming.
Yeah.
And then when you have a bit of success as well with like winning schoolboys and national championships, and then you just then, as I say, it sort of took over me really.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, I mean, it was great, and I wouldn't be doing the job I'm doing now if it didn't. But it's you know, in relation to to driving a cab, is two of the coaches that were at my club were cab drivers. So that was...
I don't know if we pointed out, Gary, that you are coaching the Olympic team. I don't know if I've said that already in this podcast, but you are Team GB Olympic coach for the boxing team.
Yeah, so...
Or part of the coaching team.
That's right, yeah. So I'm part of the senior coaching team up in Sheffield.
Yeah.
So I work with all the Great Britain boxers, basically the best boxers in the country. So Scotland, Wales and England... so the best boxers come to Sheffield, and then we train them, and then obviously we take them to competitions. I was lucky enough to be a coach in Tokyo Olympics and also Rio Olympics, and I was part of the backroom team for London 2012.
I bet what's hard about this Olympic idea is being that they're amateurs, but you're going to go up against other best in the world Olympic amateurs. Hard to know how good the boxers are you're going to be fighting from other countries.
Yeah, I think the thing with us now is that the word amateur is a little bit outdated, really, because the setup we have 7 full-time coaches, 12 part-time coaches. We have a psychologist, S&C coach, nutritionist, lifestyle coach. It's a fantastic setup that we've got, and we're funded by the lottery and the government.
Wow! Back in Richard's day, all they had was hair and makeup, wasn't it, Richard?
Yeah, I was just thinking that all those things Gary just said is that's what my mum and dad did for me. My dad was my mentor. My mum was my dietitian, and the money that I earned, I went out and got through working.
Yeah,
and then finish work and then go to training. Now, due to I believe the lottery, it's changed England sport boxing for us massively, because we was underdogs. We had great fighters. We've always produced great fighters, but when we was going to Olympics pre-lottery, I presume, don't know when would have been the last one, maybe 1980, I don't know, or 84. But we were fighting Americans. We knew they was like that. They were like pros, Russians, East German. Obviously, when the wall fell down, like, you know.
Yeah, and that's the good thing now, is that we train with them, you see.
Yeah.
So we just done a training camp with America in Colorado. We go there every year. So we go to Italy. We go all over the world, basically. So the thing is, because of the money that allows us to do that. So the boxers get paid. So in sort of when you was boxing, Richard, you know, a boxer might have to be.
I remember when I was boxing for England, and we was given Dunlop green striped trainers, and I thought we won the lottery. I always remember that Dunlop green striped trainers.
That makes you sponsored, doesn't it? As it is.
I won the National Association of Boys Clubs, and not unfortunately, but the year that I won it, Joe Bugner set up a little training place out in Holland, Harnham, I think we went, with the England coach. I went on that, winning the National Association of Boys Clubs. Lloyd Hannigan was in with me, Joey Frost. I don't know if Tony Willis was there, Ray Gilbody. All went to Moscow Olympics, and obviously Lloyd Hannigan becoming the world champion. But now, like I say, that you kitted out. I think it's something like £40,000 they get.
Yeah.
Well, there's different levels of funding that they get. They have to get to sort of top 4 in the world to get the top funding, but it's all tax free.
I remember back in the day that the South Americans used to be pretty tasty. They couldn't have had much funding.
No,
was it the Cubans?
Cubans, Cubans are the world leaders. I mean, they live in poverty, basically. It's the facilities are not great, but they just produce. And the thing about them is they don't turn professional, you see. So what they do is they keep the boxers for, like, they'll do 4 Olympics, some of them. So they're that good. They're like professionals.
Well, Tafilio Stevenson, the heavyweight, Tafilio Stevenson. Yeah. Was he 3 gold medals?
Yeah, so 3 Olympics, you see. So
and he lived in poverty.
Yeah, so that's
he
what
died
you come
in
up
poverty.
against. Yeah.
I think they gave him a cooker, didn't they? something starts, when he come back, he got a cooker. But going back, there's a great documentary about Cuban amateur boxers. Have you seen that? I can't remember it, but I saw it. It's fantastic.
They come away with more than their fair share of medals, don't they, from any boxing competition?
Tokyo, we finished second to them in the table.
Wow.
So it was a record for us. We got 6 medals in Tokyo. So it was the best for 120 years for Great Britain.
There have been times when they weren't going to send a boxing team, hasn't there, in the past, because we weren't successful.
Well, you've got to qualify, you see.
Yeah.
You've got to qualify.
Right.
And as I say, unless you qualify, and there's been times like Los Angeles, we only had 2 boxers there.
Yeah.
So but obviously now, because of the setup that we've got, and we're able to train with the best in the world and compete with them, and we're going to numerous tournaments, travelling. Yeah. So
that's what I was going to say. Sorry, Gary. To Dean, what he asked earlier, how do we, when we box in world opponents from different countries, how do we know their form? Exactly what you just said, Gary. The top fighters now are on the circuit. They fight outside of Britain now. They don't fight on. They don't have to win the ABAs. When I was boxing, you had to be your national champion.
Yeah.
Now they don't have to win the national champion. They've gone to pass that. They've got to win the world scene, haven't they? Get a medal placement. Again, I might be talking at me.
Yeah, I mean, in general, the boxers that come to us are champions of the country.
Yeah.
So they're English, Welsh, Scottish champions, and then we assess them. They come on an assessment. And then that's how they get on. Yeah. But they're already, most of our boxers have been boxing since they were 10.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of,
Are you holding them back from being professional?
Well, the thing is, in some ways, we'll say to them, basically, don't go too soon, because some of them are tempted, obviously, by, like what they think is riches.
Yeah.
There's only, a small minority make really big money.
Yeah.
People like Anthony Joshua came from our program.
Yeah.
When he started on our program, his funding was £12,000 a year. So, and you can imagine what he's gone, but obviously he's a big man.
Yeah.
So every now and again, someone like him will come along. But in general, what we like them to do is get the experience, travel the world, enjoy it. You're part of something you're part of a journey.
A little bit of history making.
For Great Britain. You're representing Great Britain on the world stage. It's something that you can always look back on with pride.
Who was that fighter we had who was the first British fighter to win the world championship, amateur world championship?
Frankie Gavin.
And and he was going to Olympics. He was a favourite, and then turned pro, didn't he? Pre Olympics. I can't remember what Olympics.
He had a few personal problems in the background that he didn't enable him to compete. But yeah, I mean, so really, once like all these successful pros that you see now, most of them come through our system.
Yeah.
So it gives them the ground, and because they're boxing the best in the world,
Yep.
so they're coming up against all different styles. You see,
Yeah.
so it gives them that sort of pedigree to then go on when they do turn professional. That it's not a big shock to them.
So the greatest boxer of all time is obviously Clubber Lang. Who do you think is the greatest boxer of all time?
Oh, that's just opinion. It's like anything. It's styles. Obviously Muhammad Ali. Brought a lot of light onto the sport, I suppose. With his abilities and that.
He always looks very small to me, Muhammad Ali, as a build. His build is thin, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the heavyweights were smaller then, weren't
Yeah.
they? I think with now the way things have moved on with nutrition and sports science plays a big part in things now.
Yeah.
So I think they are big. I mean, you look at the size of Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
If you look at the size of Joe Frazier, they were small heavyweights in comparison.
Do you think he wouldn't have won today then, Muhammad Ali, against the heavyweights of today?
Yeah, that's a good question, Dean. I think obviously his skill and is unbelievable, wasn't he?
He was intelligent, wasn't he? As a boxer, he was very, very intelligent.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he went on too long, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But with his skill, he'd always have a chance. But I think the physicality now of some of these, they're huge, these heavyweights, and over it's 15 rounds. Then it's 12 now.
Yeah.
So over them rounds, it's tough on the body, isn't it?
You say going on too long. It seems to have ended, but there was an era where Joe Bogner, Fraser, they were all fighting in their 40s and 50s.
The reason being, I think, the truth be known, they had no money. At the end of the day, promoters, can you mention names? I don't know. Don King is well known.
Yeah, we got a lawsuit now from Don King.
From Don. Yeah, he won't be surprised. But Larry Holmes, who became a great world champion, was going for the undefeated record of a world champion, famously walking into the ring. And Muhammad Ali went up to him and said, you're not earning any money today. Whispered in his ear, supposedly. Someone like Henry Cooper, our fighter, lovely Henry, he won 3 Lonsdale belts. He carried on for some time. He was quite high.
I think one of the reasons as well for that is times have changed. The way the world is now with the internet.
Investments and things like that.
I think now with boxers now will have advisors, they'll have lawyers, where in the past they didn't.
Yeah.
So it was a thing of sort of, it's getting educated really, isn't it? To look after your interests. And I think, what Richard said, there was a lot of exploitation in them days, really.
Yeah, so they got ripped off, basically.
Yeah, they got ripped off through lack of knowledge. So there's a lot of fighters who are really good fighters, and they've ended up, working, doing, normal jobs where perhaps they could have, if they'd have, had better advice, they could have obviously retired and, had a better sort of standard of living. But I think the world's changed now as well. I mean, some of the fighters now are earning unbelievable money, some of them on the, on these pay-per-view events and the internet. It's so there is, a lot more opportunity now.
Do you think it does seem that it's going the way in terms of television or televised fights that the MMA is taking over?
I think it's really popular. There's no denying. There's a big market for it. And I mean, boxing. Like I was at a show on Saturday at the O2. Anthony Joshua. We had a fighter on the bill as well. And that was sold out. So. Boxing is, if you put the right fights on, people are going to compete.
The other thing we haven't sort of said at the moment, lady boxers.
Yeah. I mean,
the ladies are in the game now, in the boxing game, that is.
Well, yeah, I just watched something yesterday. There are some women who mistakenly believe that they can compete in the men division of anything. The one I watched yesterday was a Marine. She was a Marine and she thought she could box against another Marine who was a man. Mm. Oh, it was a disaster. It was really...
Yeah, it's...
So no discredit to them, but it's kind of idea of there's a big thing at the moment with the fair pay, equal pay, equal... Yeah. Well, it's if you can get the same viewership, if you can create the same hype, then maybe you get the fair pay, but you don't. and
Yeah, I mean, the thing for us, we've got a women's team, and I recently did a corner over in Paris with one of our female boxers who was Olympic champion. Her name's Lauren Price, and she's unbelievable. I mean, our women's team train alongside the men, and they're super professional. And I think once you've been around them, day in, day out, and you see the hard work they put in, they're consummate professionals.
oh yeah, no doubt about it.
But, none of our women would want to compete against a man.
No.
It's they know, obviously, they'll box another woman. That's that's how it is.
I think we saw another one I saw the other day was one of the women's professional national teams. Not sure if it was Australia. Played against a group of 15-year-old boys and lost 7-0.
Yeah.
You think like, well, okay, it's a different calibre.
I think also, wasn't it the USA football team? They played a boys team, didn't they, and got beat, and they was the best in the world.
Yeah.
Is that, again, no disrespect, it's just a different physicality of things. I'm sure there's strong women out there that could beat a weaker man.
Well, we're getting into very, very topical issues at the moment, because I just saw a trans woman win the weightlifting category of bench press. I think they were doing bench pressing so much pound, and she, the trans lady, won by about an extra £100 on the bench press to the second place woman. And what happened was another guy came along and said, I identify as being a woman. He had a beard. He was obviously a man, but he said, I want to identify as being a woman. And he was a professional bench press expert. And he then goes and makes the women's record another £160 higher than the trans woman had done, and then obviously the woman below. So there's something amiss here. Maybe the trans need their own Olympics, their own category, because it would be, they can't compete against a real person who's trained professionally, and the women can't compete against the men.
Have you ever seen the trans cab drivers out there? A few out there.
Is there?
Yeah, definitely. I've been behind someone in a rank, blonde flowing hair, looking at and all of a sudden the size 20 glove hand comes out, and God, she's got to be a female basketball player or something, you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, Frank Maloney, boxing promoter, married with children. Now, what's his name? Debbie?
Is he different? Really?
Yeah.
Debbie Maloney.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Kelly.
Kelly. Oh, Kelly.
Yeah. His name's Kelly now.
He's been on those what they call it reality show, hasn't he? Yeah. And someone said he's had the full buffter, as they say, removed, and he regrets it now.
Yeah, it's a bit of extreme.
Yeah. Well, he had what's his name, didn't he? He had Lennox Lewis. Amazing.
Are you now saying Lennox Lewis is now trans?
No. There was. I'm not going to say a word. I don't say anything. There was something around. He was, unattached, well, good-looking bloke.
Who?
What's his name? Did you say?
Lennox Lewis.
Lennox Lewis.
Lennox Lewis was. Oh, you think?
No, there was rumours. I heard there was rumours around through the boxing.
Well,
fraternity.
you did it. You've hit upon a slightly other subject, which is why do so many boxers have speech impediments? I mean, they're not the greatest talkers in the world. It's like, apart from Muhammad Ali, who could talk the hind legs off a donkey, everybody else is like. We won't talk about the.
Well, I don't know. What's his name? The Gypsy King. He's
Tyson
Fury. He's a great talker.
Yeah.
Was he in the England setup?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was on our team for a little bit.
Danny Mack has joined us, and Danny's a corner man, are you, Dan?
I'm a professional boxing coach. I am a corner man.
Oh, you are in the company of greatness, because Gary is the Olympic coach for the British team. Butter boy.
Yeah, so I'm a professional coach and a cut man.
But don't you need some medical training for cuts?
No.
Just Vaseline.
You need to know how to handle them, but they don't actually supply any formal training. You go on a course over the weekend when you get licensed, but it's something that I think should be improved.
Yeah. I mean, I've done the same course, the professional, because I've got professional license as well, and it's just a weekend. It's the so-called amateur courses is far more difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, we deal with cuts all the time, when we're away, because since they removed the head guards, with the men. Obviously, the women still have head guards, and the men they don't have head guards. You see.
Do you think they will? Future. The amateurs have head guards, though.
No, not the men.
They took them away, didn't
Yeah, they took them away. Yeah.
And when was that? I didn't know.
Yes. They took in 2013.
Okay, so it looks how long I've been watching.
Yeah, so the
amateur boxing.
first in the World Championships I was at in Kazakhstan, of all places. They took them away, so we have to obviously deal with cuts as well. So stopping them, we use adrenaline 1000 to stop them. You apply pressure and stuff. So it's as I say, you have to deal with all stuff like that, cuts as well.
Yeah. Going on the back of cuts, my ex-son-in-law was a professional boxer, and
he was a boxer as well.
A couple of years ago, and his cut man was the cab driver,
Mick Williams.
Mickey Williams,
Legend,
legend. And I spoke to him, asking him, he said he just was with another cut man, and just watched him.
Yeah,
and thought I can do that.
Wow!
And he took it up, and now he's in the corner with all the top fighters all the time.
The rub, they call him.
Yeah.
In our game, sort of in the international scene, like they could fight 5 times in 8 days. You see, so they can fight with a cut that's been stitched.
Yeah.
So long as because they stitch it inside and outside, and they put like a mesh over it.
Yeah.
So they are allowed to fight with a cut.
Yeah.
I was in a fight once. Sorry, Gary. Sorry. It just come to me. But we're talking on cuts, and it come to me. It's be interesting. I don't know. I was a schoolboy semi-finalist. I was a schoolboy champion, and I was fighting in another following year. You got to imagine, I was only about 13. We only fought 1.5 minute rounds, and we come out, clashed heads, and I stepped back, and he claret on this guy's face, and the referee's taking me back to the corner, and he's pointing at, and my corner man got up, and I've got a cut. I didn't realise, and I pointed over to him.
Was it around here or somewhere?
It was in the eye somewhere.
Yeah, I've had that.
Yeah, no, it was in.
So you was cut, or you was both cut?
We both clashed heads.
But you don't know you're cut, do you?
I didn't know I was cut. I just as I stepped back, I'm obviously facing my opponent. Could see he was cut.
Who was worse cut?
Well, he
was. You couldn't see yourself. You might be like.
No, I don't know. So I've gone back anyway. I'm telling my coach, and he's cut, like. Anyway, we only literally come out 2 seconds, whatever it was. I think it was the second round. It was the second round, and it was not first time, but it was unusual. They added up the score of the first round, and I won. So I went on. It didn't go well with the opponent. Anyway, I won that fight, and I remember my mum for the next fight. Obviously, a few weeks later, semi-finals. My mum put mascara and plastic
on you,
in my eyebrow, and plastic skin, a little plastic skin through my eyebrow, because at the time they might not let me through the medical. Like,
so your mum was your cut woman.
Yeah, and I ended up winning it again. But that was talking about cuts. I was a 13-year-old. That's when it's, even then.
Yeah. But you didn't box then at all?
Yeah, I boxed as an amateur. So I had a good amateur career, and then was short. Was offered to go pro, and then my mum and dad sort of fell out, and my mum didn't want me to box.
Yeah.
So
what weight division would you have been in on pro then?
Super middle, I reckon.
Super fat?
Probably. Knew that was coming. But no, it's just like, I think my mum worked out, that's real boxing, and I didn't like seeing them argue. It wasn't nothing like domestically bad or anything, but it just ruined it a bit. And then I was always around it my whole life in one way or another, just helping fighters. I didn't really realise I was a coach, just you're involved. It was just part of life.
Well, this coaching, this is something that we're getting onto here, which is the subject of not only the fact that you've all got great careers doing something else, but the taxi trade is the most amazing job to allow us to focus on doing something else, because we get that 100% freedom to do whatever we want, whenever we want, and we get the freedom, we get a job security at the same time, which you can't guarantee. So we can't focus on things and think about the future. So you're now being paid as a cut man, corner man, coach?
Sometimes you get paid 10% when they fight up to a certain amount.
Yep. So you're doing it as a hobby at the moment, in the sense of saying you love and a passion, because you
No,
can't do it for a living.
It's a full. Oh well, I couldn't do it for a living at this stage. But it's a funny one because I work at the highest level, but doesn't necessarily mean I'll be the highest paid. Yeah. You get paid depending on what the job is and how long it lasts. Yeah. And then you've got to kind of hope for another good one or see what happens.
Well, Gal, you need anyone for the Olympic team? Short on coaches.
But it's a funny, as you know, with the pro game, it's really. I was on TalkSport talking about it a few weeks ago because I trained someone who was going to be on the Conor Bent undercard. If that fight gets cancelled, I won't get paid. There's so many different bits and pieces in boxing that make it like it's like an unregulated, regulated sport. There's no structure in it.
But you've now hit on a point saying, girls, in Borough High Street was the Boxing Association.
Yeah.
And there's how many years that went defunct, didn't it?
Bankrupt.
So what replaced it?
Yeah,
no, it's there in Wales now.
Yeah, it's just moved. Yeah, British Boxing Board of Control.
Boxing Board of Control. Yeah, because I remember the big scandal. It really went into big trouble because it got sued, didn't it, from one of the fights?
Yeah, I mean they've had over the years. They've had. I mean, Conor Ben now is talking about suing the British Boxing Board of Control. Yeah,
again.
Yeah, but I think that's why they have lawyers on the board as well. So on their board, there's quite a few lawyers.
What do you think it was the Eubank fight that?
Yes, it's through that.
The original was with Eubanks. His dad, and what's his name? The other guy who's badly.
You said what?
Michael Watson.
Michael Watson.
Michael Watson.
Yeah, I know.
I was actually at that fight, but I mean, obviously things have moved on since then. Medical, from a medical point of view, safety of the boxers. Yeah, it's like they're monitored now. So for championship fights, they check their weight every so often, where before they never used to. Yep. So a lot of fighters, like the difference between us is like we have nutritionists, you see, and our boxers have to stay 5% within their weight. With a lot of professional boxers, if they're not boxing, they'll balloon up in weight.
Yeah. And it's really dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think.
What's the Manchester boy?
Yeah, Ricky.
Ricky.
He used to go a couple of stone above his fighting weight. So
I'll fine them if they do that with me. I won't let them do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, as I say, things have moved on now.
He would go a couple of stone above his fight weight between fights.
Yeah, between fights, yeah.
And then lose that weight. That can't be good for your body.
No. And the thing is, as well, is...
And in a short period of time sometimes, wasn't it?
Yeah, but, just your health as well, isn't it?
It's dehydration, taking the water out.
Away from the brain.
Yeah, and then you get punched in the head. It's not going to...
Well, this being punched in the head lark is a bit what we can touch on now anyway, because there must be some stats on ex-fighters' health after fighting, because the clumps on the head, I mean, he's all over the show. Do you ever think, Richard, that it's affected you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah? Definitely. Sometimes, but you part of the job.
I think even as a coach, it can affect you. When you're absorbing, even if you've got a body shield on, and I train heavyweights. Yeah. Some days I get my words wrong, or I'm a bit distant with it. I think it's just part of it.
I can imagine them heavyweights wanting to clump you really hard.
Yeah.
I've got that kind of face.
I think the thing with contact sports, and even now football, where there's a lot of research going on now into heading the ball, isn't there? Over the years, that like they're saying that it's caused damage over the years. So I think in lots of sports, there's an element of risk, isn't it? Yeah. In what you do.
That new ball though is like a beach ball, isn't it? The new football. Is it back in the day when we was kids and we played football? That thing would knock you out as it hit you on the head. Wet. You'd be dead.
I've just had a fighter really injured though for the first time. I've been through a situation recently. I was training a bloke called Daniele Scardina. I don't know if you know who he is. He's an Italian boxer. He's like their Anthony Joshua over there. He's massive in Italy. Yeah. And he come over to me as a recommendation. And we was training and he went back to Italy because he was opening the gym and I was due to go out there because he was fighting for a rematch for his title. Then I got a text message. He'd collapsed after training. He'd had a hemorrhage to the brain. And it wasn't even after sparring. He'd been doing like a light training session. He's still in a coma now. He's been in a coma for 30
years.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. His career's over.
Yeah, he's 30 years old, and he's in a situation
He's
where
still in a coma.
he's off the medicine that keeps you in a coma.
Yeah.
But
He was in an induced coma.
Yeah, so they took him from the gym to the hospital in Italy, operated on him. Then he was in the induced coma. Then he sort of stayed asleep, but he's not on the medicine. Yeah. But we don't know what he's going to be like. He always used to say, "Ocho de tigre," when we're in the gym. And I say, "What's that mean?" He goes, "I have the tiger." It's like, calm down, Dan. But he's a lovely fella, but he's got other stuff he can do. Like, he's a big model out there. He does TV stuff, but he's 30 years old, and to see that happen, when it's someone you're involved with, it feels different. It's something you'd hear. It's horrible. Yeah. It is part of the sport.
Well, Richard's been in a coma for the past 40 years.
Feels like.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about, you say that making the other sports less contact.
You can't though, can you?
Yeah, boxing is
what it is.
What I was saying earlier to Gary, wasn't I? That there's plenty of sayings in sport, and one of them is you play football, you play tennis, but you don't play boxing. There's so much you can do in the boxing, but it's a contact sport. That's it. Football is becoming less and less.
It should be. I mean, to be honest, we've all got lives to live now.
But if you sign up to be a boxer, I think you should just. You're signing up to what could happen. It is what it is. I don't think there's any.
Well, I don't think it's in your brain, is it? You don't think that.
The thing is,
it's a sport you love.
Yeah.
With amateur boxing and professional boxing, it's different because obviously the rounds are longer. So you're talking about your body is taking more punishment,
and as you're getting tighter, the longer rounds.
That's it.
In the later stages of a round, you're sparring. You're doing much more sparring. I assume, I mean,
that's why I prefer amateur boxing to professional boxing. To be fair, so it's we say ours is a sport, pro boxing's a business. And it is, so that's why I sort of preferred doing I was a grassroots coach, for 15 years.
Have you got children, Gary?
Yeah, I've got 3. Yeah,
and girls, boys?
Yeah, I've got 2 girls and 1 boy.
And would you want them to be Olympic standard at anything? Would you?
I mean, my daughter was she plays football. She still plays now. She's 26, so she's always been brought up in a sporting environment. Yeah. My son tried boxing and didn't like it, so I didn't push it. No. And my other daughter had no interest really in sport.
The reason I bring this up is I got 2 daughters, and I know I'm a very proud dad, but they're both extremely talented. They have got 2 gold medals, one of them, and 1 gold and silver medal in gymnastics already. And my other daughter just got her first belt. She's 10 in kickboxing, and I can see that she's got the balance, the dance, the kind of movement. She does a roundhouse kick at 10, and it looks amazing. It's lovely. And she wants to be an Olympic gymnast. And I do not think the sacrifice that people put in for the training of any of this Olympic swimmer, all that, I don't think it's worth it. You got 1 shot, maybe 2 shots to be in the best or winning the gold medal, which is pretty much your only ambition. You're going to be the 1, 2, or 3 of the person in the world who's trained the most and has the most talent or the most body mass muscle mass to get this thing. Oh, I just see it as a world of pain and suffering, of training, and your whole the best years of your life have just gone by to just achieve a little piece of metal.
Well, I think if you look at the other side of that, obviously I've been involved in the Olympic Games, and I've been lucky enough to be in the corner with the Olympic champion. And when they reach that, it's just, there's no feeling like it. Even a lot of professional world champion boxers would say that when they won the Olympic gold medal, nothing else will ever come near it. Winning a pro title, it doesn't come near. Yeah. It's that thing of you're an Olympic champion.
Prestigious.
So I think the answer to, is like, that is an experience that you can't buy.
Yeah.
It then leads on to, other things. Any boxer that wins an Olympic medal is normally guaranteed a good future.
Yeah.
So, it's...
But that's one boxer out of there. How many trained for it?
Yeah, I mean, we have 50 boxers on our programme. Right. So we have an academy team, and then we have the podium team. So, as I say, we got 6 Olympic medals which is a record for us.
Going on what Gary's saying about the Olympic, obviously the penultimate achievement, winning a gold medal. This is where it gets a bit blurry now, doesn't it, with amateur and professional?
Yeah.
It started off with the American basketball team.
Yeah.
And now they're football. They're bringing these professionals that are wealthy millionaires in their professional sports, and then coming into an amateur, which is our domain, the amateurs. Goal. They've been training, stayed amateur to win this goal, and then you get these pro. There was talk. I think might have been even having a professional boxer, wasn't there, or something in the Olympics or something, wasn't there?
Yeah,
grey area, don't it?
No, they're allowed.
Yeah,
they're allowed now, so long as they haven't had more than 6 fights.
Yeah.
So if they haven't had more than 6 professional fights,
Me personally, I find that
It's hard to
I
think
find it wrong because
Richard,
I think you've turned pro. You've won.
But what if you are amateur, but we're funding you? Are you not pro? I mean, we're paying for you've got all this.
No, it has
things
changed
around you.
Yeah, it has changed that. But I'm just saying that the guys, like, they've turned pro before, going to the Olympics and then coming back. You know what I mean?
Like I'm saying, everyone's good enough to go to the Olympics. That's the thing. It's a small minority of Great Britain and wherever country you come from. So that's why it's a special thing. To be an Olympian is special in itself, but to be an Olympic champion is
different.
Well, this is it again. Going back to what I was saying earlier, was involved in the 1980s sort of Olympic boxing squad. I was training with them and was hoping to go, and that is exactly what I think. Even if I was lucky enough to have been chosen to go and not win a medal, you're always an Olympian.
Oh,
and I would have been chuffed to bits, like, because you're an Olympian, and that goes with you. It's like I was saying to one of my coaches once about I must have heard it. You're ex-world champion, but you're not an ex-Olympian.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I don't like that.
It's an exclusive club, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you nearly made it, Richard. I am very proud of you.
Yeah, I was close. I got the T-shirt.
Well, viewers, again, it's very competitive. All these things are so competitive. But my thing for my children is to tell them to be good at it and enjoy what you do. Yeah. You can just be good at it.
I think the thing is, as parents, if you support them in what they want to do, that's great. I mean, if you're a pushy parent, that's different, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. They say they don't want to go this week. They don't go gymnastics and whatever. She came home crying. She'd had her gymnastics coach. She pushes her a little too hard, and she says, "Daddy, I'm hurting a little bit. We're doing kind of serious splits, and it's really hurting me a little bit." And she's had a little go. She's 10 years old. Had a go at her coach, who's a Russian gymnast. One of the bloody. Now I don't. There's another coach who's Turkish, who's a lot more. They're children. Yeah. They're children, and the Russian coach is really trying to double them up and get them to sort of levels that you think no. The Russian coach really does have a mindset that we're getting them to the Olympics, and my mindset is no, they're having a bit of fun.
They need that fun. They need that enjoyment to be able to want to go back again. That's the thing. It's like boxing when you start coaching kids at 10 years of age. It's got to be fun as well.
Yes,
they've got to want to come back. Yeah. And, hopefully they do.
When they bring snooker and darts into the Olympics, we're the best.
Well, they brought skateboarding in.
Our skateboarding, Yeah. Yeah, little kids game.
Little kids.
I still do it.
I used to have Jack.
Yeah. I'm going to go today. I'm going to finish this thing, and I'm going to go today. And
I used to roller skate. We used to roller skate when I was a kid all the time. Our Jackos, we called. That was a make of roller skate.
That's knowledge-related issues, Richard. How long did you take to do knowledge? I know you had a hard time on the knowledge.
Well, 9 years it took me.
9 years. Yeah. Why didn't you give up?
Well, that is, again, this is the thing. My friend, I was thinking about that. Things to say involving the boxing and the cabin. It's a saying we had up on the wall in the Repton. I think it was something like quitters never win and winners never quit.
Yeah.
And I think that got me through. It's with the knowledge, you can't fail. You just quit. So. Yeah. And it wasn't in my sort of makeup through the boxing. You have hard rounds, you have hard weeks of training, but you got to keep going on if you want to be to be successful.
Yeah.
And I committed myself, and like I say, after knockback, obviously again I took it on myself of not listening to anyone. First of all, I think that was for the first 5 years.
Yeah. Well,
and then I heard the dean's the school, and I used to go round. I only live round the corner from where where I live from. It's amazing, and you used to go and knock on the door, and no, we ain't got enough room. You was doing it from your house at then, I think, and
a long time ago.
and no, we ain't got no room. No, you started, and eventually he allowed me in after begging, scraping.
You're an horrible bastard, really. Isn't
Well, you know,
I was desperate. He felt sorry for me, and he said, "Drag me."
he came up. I said, "You'll never be a cab driver. You'll never be." Gary, you had a similar situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with me, it's 4.5 years for me.
Yeah.
So I think
It's brilliant.
That is brilliant, but you've got to remember, Gary had to come down, learn English, and do the knowledge.
Scouser in London, I think for me, I had a full-time job. I was a contract manager. I'm a roofer, originally a roofer. So I had that. Then I was coaching in a club as well. So I couldn't go to a school.
No.
So I knew I couldn't go to a school. But what I did is I went to a couple of schools just to see how it worked. And then the same with a call-over partner. I didn't have a call-over partner until I got on 21s. So basically I did it myself. And, you know, I got red-lined on 56s. And, I sort of knew that I needed to put more into it, which I did. I sort of dropped one night at the club. I was still... like a volunteer coach then at the Lynn.
Did you find that your boxing training and your structure of training boxers helps you with your knowledge?
I mean the thing is, if you dedicate yourself like I dedicated myself to coaching, then you know that what you put in you generally get out. I think with the knowledge, it's just the fact of you don't know what they're going to ask you when you go in there, even though. Like if you get your point sheets and you look at the bankers or what they ask you, you know, you just hope you get one of them. But, you know, you can get anything. And I think I sort of realised that it was no good me worrying about something that I couldn't control. So that sort of helped me relax a little bit. And to be fair, I was saying to Dean earlier on, is like, mostly I found encouragement, if I'm honest, from the examiners. You know, it was the fact of, I think, you know, I remember one of them saying to me that, you know, you're the type of cab driver we want. You know, you're not a flash man. You know, you come in here, you present yourself well. And I think how you present yourself is massively important.
Yeah.
And I think if you go in there with any type of attitude or, you know, not looking your best or trying to be your best, then it's going to be harder for you.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I even wrote a letter to one of the examiners, you know, thanking them because I felt that they wanted me to get there. They knew I'd been doing it for 4 years. I remember one of the examiners, Mr. Thomas, who I got my rec off, and he told me afterwards, after they gave me the handshake, he said, on your notes, he said what I wrote down originally, because he'd give me a few Ds along the journey, and he said, you got a lot of irons in the fire, so meaning the boxing, and I was working full time. He said, so that was why you wasn't sort of getting, you know, scoring regular enough to move on, and why you got redlined. And I think after, you know, some of the examiners say to me, you need to work harder. You've got to get out on the bike a bit more. And I think if you take the advice, and then also massively, if you go to a school, helps. You know, it would definitely shorten it for you.
This is just something we've touched upon here, really, with the boxing relationship. Anyway, you need a coach.
Yeah.
And you obviously need to be the best coach you can find. And I'm not saying it's me, but you just don't generally need a coach to sort of cut out. The thing I see most people make a mistake on is that they do things that are very relatively unimportant to the big picture. So it would be, for me, it would be like a boxer who's concentrating on what colour shorts he should wear. Yeah. And it's like, have you got a pair of pants? Wear them, because it's not going to change how you box, that part. So they're focusing on aspects that really have very, very little importance to their thing. And there's a lot of people make the mistake. And the biggest thing for me, the number one thing people could do to get through the knowledge quicker, there's 3 things, but the number one thing is the volume of point to point that they actually do, which would be the same as a boxer. the volume of sparring that you may do. You're actually doing the job that you're going to get in there and do, and that just increases your experience. And there are too many people I see on the knowledge, and you ask them how much point to point do you practice a day? Oh, I do about 10, and they're impressed. They think that they've done a volume of 10, and I think, well, 10 if I'm on form, that's about 15 minutes work. So you're not getting anywhere near that volume of practice.
Do you know what else was good when I was at the school? Was having the mock appearances,
Yeah,
and having the accountability as well, because that helped with the performance under pressure aspect of it for me.
yeah. You was taking some mock appearances.
I ended up doing it for
Yeah,
you in the
yeah.
end. Yeah, I was doing the mock appearances for other students, but Mr. Price, God rest his soul,
Yeah,
he used to drag me up the stairs, and I would think it would feel like a real appearance. And John Osborne as well.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
much
yeah.
as I laugh now, I think John, I would be at the desk doing my point to point, and John would come by like a great white shark, and you'd be panicking a bit.